Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to today's webinar, where we're going to discuss how to 2.5x your AUM without cold calling and buying leads. I'm here with my fabulous co-host, Cole Craven, and also the wonderful Herbert Kyles from Farther. As you know, that with today's noise, there's just you can get distracted with so many things with LinkedIn, DMs, marketing shticks, all those things that swear that you'll make all your money and more. Just to summarize, today we're going to hear a little bit more about how to actually focus on things that are important, primarily how Herbert was able to really focus on making sure that his clients get the financial plan actually implemented. So just to warm up a little, here's a fun little poll. So please take a second to answer what's working well for you in the last 12 months. Okay, hopefully that was enough time. So again, my name is Marla. I'm here from EncorEstate. I'm the chief of staff here. And I just wanted to thank you first and foremost for doing the work you do for your clients and helping them live their best lives and also helping them make sure that they're protecting what matters most. I started, or my introduction into this profession was actually being a client about 18 years ago. I ended up hiring my own financial planner because I had a few monumental things happen in my life, both good and bad, but which was my parents passing, hence the passion for estate planning. And so I decided a few years to kind of make the switch over here and to be part of this wonderful community of all the things that you are doing. So thank you so much for the work that you do for those folks out there. Cole, if you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course. I don't have a beach scene behind me like Marla does. I don't live anywhere. I guess the closest beach I have is the banks of the Ohio River. So I'm Cole. I'm one of the co-founders of Move Health. And so we are a healthcare planning software and tool for financial advisors to utilize to better serve their clients. And you'll learn a little more about, there's a reason Herbert's on this call. You'll learn a little more about how he utilizes us and how thousands of other advisors across the country utilize Move Health to make healthcare planning simple and clear. And so, thrilled to be here, Marla. Thanks for having us. And really, I think the goal for today is to make certain that in the world that we live in, with all of the different things that will growth hacks and all of these things that will help you to grow your firm quickly, and everyone is selling a secret sauce, I think there is still the tried and true method of just adding extreme value, seeking to add extreme value. And that's a lot of what Herbert has done that's helped him to 2.5x and hopefully 2.5x again, right, Herbert? So I'll kind of tap you and tell us a little bit about yourself, your firm, and where you're at. You just got back from a ski vacation, right?
Yeah, we just got back from Vail. It was pretty sweet because no one was really there since it's the worst snow in Colorado ever, like on record.
That's what I've heard.
But it was pretty fun to have the slopes to yourself and just miss a few of those ice patches. But yeah, my name's Herbert Kyles, advisor over at Farther. And, I'm just kind of like everyone else that's probably on this call, trying to do best by clients, run a profitable practice, and not drive yourself crazy while doing it. It's a fun profession, but it always comes with its mental trials and tribulations. But when we talk about 2.5xing your AUM, and when we talk about delivering incredible value to clients, right? That's part of the reason why I joined Farther. What I find is you need to have the right support, the right systems, and the right services in place to do that. For some people, that's owning their own ADV and running their own firm. For some people, that's joining a larger enterprise or maybe being on a platform. For me, that was Farther because they provide me with a ton of support. I've got the systems in place to be able to focus on what I like to do, and that's working with clients. It is not doing payroll, by the way. And, when I took this venture and looked at it, what I really want to do is be able to sit there independently and say, all right, this is the best setup. This is the best service provider. This is the best system that needs to be in place for this client to have a streamlined financial planning experience, right? It's never going to be perfect, but streamlined. And, the platform I'm on allows me to do that, which is wonderful. I'm very thankful for it, for that freedom. But at the same time, I hope what you understand from this conversation is that it will not always be smooth. It will not always be perfect. But similar to going to a really nice restaurant with awesome Google reviews, you might get a 4-star review if it takes 45 minutes to get your food, but the food tastes phenomenal, then that's great, right? But if you sit there for 30 minutes or an hour and you don't get served a plate, it doesn't matter how good the food could have been. If you don't follow through, if it's not delivered, if you don't get to eat, well, then, that's a 0-star review, right? And that's a lot of what I have learned from this experience and working with the best in class internal and external partners.
Thanks for that. So, again, just to give a little overview of what we're going to be going over today, we're going to hear a little bit more about Herbert built this referral engine, and then also just how he really utilized and leveraged the healthcare planning and estate planning opportunities to really fuel this growth engine. And then we'll chat a little bit about how all that growth keeps you busy. So let's hear about how you stay on top of it all. And then at the end, we'll open it up for questions and maybe have some things to share with you. So with that, without further ado, if you want to take the next like 5 to 10 minutes, Herbert, and tell us a little bit more about how you built your referral engine, we'd love to hear what you got to say.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I guess we'll start with when I first went independent and joined Farther, right? Supported independent model. I walked over with 10 names and, a lot of desire to be successful, right? $0 of AUM. Thankfully, some of it followed, right? It was about like $9, $10 million, like nothing that you could run a business on forever, right? But the bills still had to be paid. So the first step that I took was I just wrote down these people who followed me, right? Just not on an Excel spreadsheet, like you probably can't really see it because Zoom blocks it out, but quite literally, physically wrote it down in a book, right? And then I thought about, hey, like, why do these people trust me? What's their professional backgrounds? What's their family background? Quite honestly, like, what motivated them to even want to work with me? I can talk to you all day about some cool stuff, but in the end, like, what did I deliver? Where's my value? And it came down to estate planning, helping some people navigate health insurance planning, because that's a key part of retirement, and then also tax planning. And when I thought about that, I was like, okay, well, if these people that I really enjoy working with and that trust me really valued making sure that their family members could avoid probate if something happened to them or something of that nature, and if they really valued being able to retire before 65 but not stare at a $3,000 a month health insurance premium, then why don't I just unlock that to any and everyone that I talk to, right? And within my ideal client profile. And so I took that information, I took the use cases of what I'd done, and I got a lot of awesome coaching from a company called Poseidon, right? They really helped me like understand how to develop trust through social media marketing and social selling. And I just followed what they told me to, quite honestly. Like, they gave me the book and I figured, hey, these people, I trust them too, and they're probably not going to steer me in the wrong direction. Otherwise, like that would put them out of business and they're trying to grow their business. So when I did that, I started to get some inbound traffic, but mainly I got referrals, right? Like when you put your use cases out there and the things that you've done in simplified writing, right? You put it through email, you post it on LinkedIn, you just kind of talk about it. You got to envision what your client really does at Thanksgiving dinner, right? So they're sitting down, they got their sibling, or they got the weird uncle to the left who put all of his money in crypto, right? They're all sitting there. And if they all have advisors, right? Their advisor might have said, yeah, my advisor's been bugging me about doing estate planning. And the weird uncle was like, yeah, I thought about doing estate planning, but I'm moving to Puerto Rico anyway. And then you got the other sibling to the right who's like, yeah, my advisor's been telling me you got to get a trust and a will done. That's where the conversation ends. And then they're like, hey, pass over the turkey before it gets cold. But if you've leveraged your internal and external partners appropriately, right, that goes back to the support, and instead said, hey, we need to do an estate plan. Here's a partner that not only is going to help us internally diagram it out, but here's an external partner that's also going to help us implement this thing. Like make it so easy for you that the client's just sitting there like, yes, that's what I'd like to look like. Okay, get it notarized. Cool. By the way, we'll send a notary to you. Oh, even better. Sign, boom, and then the home is titled into trust. The wills, the guardianship documents are all notarized and done upright, and it follows state guidelines. That conversation at the Thanksgiving table is going to just change. Like it's a total 180 because then the weird uncle still doesn't care about estate planning, but the other sibling to the right's like, yeah, my advisor's been bothering me and telling me I need to do an estate plan. But then your client's like, oh yeah, my advisor did that for me. Like that's all they say. I tell you, if you spread that across your current client base, the response to my advisor did that is going to be, should I bug them on Thanksgiving or should I give them a call tomorrow? Like, what should I do? That's how you drive the inbound referrals. It's on the follow through, it's on the action, the implementation. So that's really how I built my referral engine was just like, if I say that we're going to get it done, I work with the internal and external partners to get the job done. Now, it might not be smooth. It could still take 2 years and be annoying, right? But in the end, going back to the restaurant example, right? If you got to wait an extra 45 minutes, but it's a 5-star meal, I guess you get a 4-star Google review. Like, I don't know what to tell you, right? I would much rather have 4 and 5-star Google reviews than 0-star Google reviews, right? And that's really how I started out building this referral engine. And I doubled down on it. It wasn't perfect at first. It's still not perfect. It's probably kind of clunky and annoying. I have a couple clients who are like, Herbert, do we really got to do this? Yes, click. Oh, wow, that's done. I didn't realize it was going to be that quick. That still happens. But in the end, what they remember is their health insurance got planned, right? Their estate planning got done. They saved money on taxes. And that's really all that matters because that's the measurement of success. Did it get done or did it not? If it got done, it's a pass fail. That's a pass. If it didn't get done, but you talked about it, it's a fail.
Totally. And that's a great way to segue into the next section, which is, healthcare planning really has helped facilitate your growth. So Cole, if you want to take it from here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Herbert, to that same point, I'll kind of like tee up some questions, but I think you and I have spent enough time together. You've spent enough time with our team here at Move Health to have a really good idea of what we do, and you've experienced it firsthand. And like, listen, I don't want this to be an infomercial for Move Health, but I do think that the biggest piece, Herbert, for growth with healthcare planning is like you can play the movie forward for your clients, right? From the perspective of being able to say, hey, I know that these are going to be the things that come up when you hit retirement. I know that these are going to be the things that come up when you have found out that you're now newly between jobs and you're considering, do I need to go back to work? Do I not? I know that when you are getting close to 65, you're getting inundated with mailers about Medicare and all of these things, right? And so as an advisor, you're able to say, I know these things are happening. Historically, though, there's not been a good solution for how does my client in Colorado get helped? How does my client in Florida get helped? I've got a guy in Colorado, he's great, but I don't have anybody elsewhere, right? And so I'd love, Herbert, for you to just kind of share. I know we have one here that was the one client that happened semi-recently that, one turned into a referral that closed very quickly, but ultimately also helped a client to save some significant dollars via advanced premium tax credit planning. So maybe talk us through that, and then we can kind of go from there.
Sure. I mean, I think to preface this, you got to think about the social benefit aspect, and then you got to think about the human benefit aspect, combine them together, right? So, on the human benefit aspect, you're sitting there with a family who has saved up X amount of dollars, whatever the number is, and the number says they can retire, but then you look at the cost of health insurance and you're like, wow, I literally can't retire. I need my employer to cover me until I'm 65 and switch over to Medicare.
Or they
And
see, Herbert, the one we see often is you saying like, hey, you could spend $7,000 a month on your health coverage, but the person and your financial plan would be fine. But the alternative being they see $2,500 in premium, they go, oh my gosh, no way, I'm not doing it, right? It's just on principle,
yeah,
they refuse to do it. And so, being able to talk them through that's important.
oh, it's so important. And like the human benefit aspect is if you can show someone not just that they can afford the health insurance coverage, but that the bill is not as scary as what they thought it was, as long as they're managing their overall income planning correctly, which goes back to the tax planning. When you do that, you're very directly showing someone you can buy 5 years worth back of your life if you just follow this plan.
Yeah.
5 years. Like just think about the amount of time with grandkids, the amount of time playing golf, the amount of time traveling the world. Like that 5 years, especially when you're in that 55 to 65 window, that quite honestly is a difference maker, right? It's a difference maker health wise, the less stress, right? It's a difference maker from the amount of energy you have in the go, slow go, and no go years of retirement. But then you can even go past that and look at the family that just suffered an unexpected job loss, right? Like I had one of those on a trip to Mexico, gets a text message, you've been let go. Has to finish the vacation in Mexico. Like that is psychotic to think about. To come back and find a $3,000 a month health insurance premium when you got one kid in college, one kid going to high school, and another in middle school, like that could devastate you. But when you do healthcare planning the appropriate way and show them, like, yeah, you're not going to get the same level of coverage you had, but there's a catastrophic event, like you're going to be pretty covered. That in of itself can be enough peace of mind that when you're going into this tough economic environment and you're trying to find a job, and we've all seen people get ghosted constantly, so make sure you are helping your friends and those that you care about or those that have the courage to reach out to you find those opportunities. It's like a civic duty, quite honestly, but you can make a real difference in someone's life, right? And then you flip over to the social benefit part, right? you got people sitting there in jobs that they don't want to be there. They financially know they don't need to be there, but they're
Hmm.
there because of the health insurance coverage. So when you show them that, I quite literally had a client tell me, Herbert, you're telling me this is the health insurance premium? We got enough money? I'm going to go tell my employer to make sure to pass my roll off to a young family that this could be the difference maker between them paying down their mortgage and funding their child's education. Right? There's a social benefit to it too by
Hmm.
helping people politely exit the workforce and live the lifestyle that they want and pass that income on to another generation. Like imagine if all of us advisors were doing this for clients. Like we might be able to solve the employment issue ourselves,
Yeah.
right? Just through really good planning and having a partner that supports you in that so you don't have to know all of it. I'm not afraid to say I don't know. But I am happy to
Yeah.
be like, but this guy, Cole Craven, the company he built, we're going to get Jackman on the phone and she'll fix it for you.
Yeah.
Being able to do that is an incredible benefit. And once again, it's going to provide you with referral business because remember, as an advisor, you do have the responsibility of building a profitable practice that allows you to reinvest in continuing education and additional services and value for your clients, right? Like that's part of building a profitable business. So yeah, there's a ton of benefit. And going back to that client scenario, I'm sitting there and I get a phone call, right? Employment's over. I think they're about 62. So they're like, hey, no one's really hiring me. What are we going to do about health insurance? Advanced premium tax credits, look at all the assets, reorganize them, drum up the income plan. By the way, if you're using like a tax status or working with a Vivify or a track, they're going to do most of that for you. It's not hard to do, right? And if you partner up with their CPA to do this, they're going to say a thank you because CPAs usually don't find out what happened in 2025 until probably like this week, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I went through that conversation. I helped him organize everything. I shouldn't say I so much. We did it. We all did it together. So shame on me for saying I. We all did it together, got them in the right place. The response wasn't just thank you. It was, my buddy just got laid off. Can you show him this? Because he's freaking out. So that led to a referral where when you once again show someone that system and that plan that you put in place, the natural response is like, well, geez, what else am I missing?
Yeah.
They had an 800 line advisor. They didn't have an HI, human intelligence, or Herbert intelligence advisor there with
I
them.
like Herbert intelligence. That's good.
I second
Actually,
that.
client said that to me this morning. They're like, Herbert, did you use AI to drum all this up? I'm like, no, I used HI, Herbert intelligence. They laughed. We put a review on the calendar. But like, yeah, I mean, it is a true difference maker in someone's life. And it's like something that when you're doing this style of planning, when you're helping someone, you could very comfortably go to sleep at night, right? And that's really like not Joe Moss HI beats AI every day, but read some of Joe Moss's stuff. It's actually pretty good. It will get a little confrontational, right? Like you'll get into some debates that like really do make you think, but it's driving the advisor workforce forward for sure. So thanks, Joe. Appreciate that. But that's really just how I did it, right? I just
Love it. Well, I
partnered
think,
up with people I trust.
yeah, and I think the thing is we look back at top concerns for, let's say, an early retiree, your 62-year-old client that we were able to work with. We worked an income strategy that kept their modified adjusted gross income lower, which allowed them to, we're not talking about dollars. There's the idea of tax planning and their philosophical dollars that are 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. The advanced premium tax credit, helping a client with that, doing income work with them in the current year. I mean, that client is saving $22,000 this year that's staying in their pocket as opposed to leaving it. And so these are real dollars. I think the other thing, Herbert, for you, it's second nature. And so you're kind of talking about it and you're like, oh, yeah, this is just what I do. But the percentage of advisors that are actually talking about health insurance and Medicare is very little. And so even that in and of itself is a differentiator where that client might be cutting the retirement cake. I think we talked about as we were prepping for this of they're cutting the retirement cake and they're saying, hey, you're 58. I know that you are younger than I am. How are you retiring? What are you doing? Like, what happened? Well, Herbert helped me figure out the income strategy to keep our health insurance inexpensive. That was really the only reason I was hanging on. We hear it all the
Oh,
time at Move Health. You've experienced it firsthand. And so even just the percentage of advisors that are talking about this can be the differentiator. And so it also allows you to go into a conversation and bring up health insurance planning, Medicare planning, things along those lines. I had another advisor say it to me this way. He was like, my favorite thing about Move Health is that I can bring up health insurance without having to know all the answers. Because rarely,
yeah.
whether it's estate planning or healthcare planning or tax planning, what have you, no one likes to talk about things they don't know anything about. But you as a fiduciary know, I need to bring this up. It's going to come up naturally in conversation. We've got to have a partner in the space that can work with that. So
I mean, Cole, this is more of a beg for forgiveness than ask for permission scenario. But like, by the way, one of the coolest things was a few of my clients who like truly were interested in healthcare planning. These are software engineers who I think they literally walk around crunching numbers in their head at all times. I actually had them join some of the advisor only webinars that Move Health put on, and it like inspired them to take action. Like he understood, he saw the math. He goes back to his wife, just literally says, yeah, I told you it would work. I don't know why you wasted so much time on this webinar, but this cool gentleman seems nice, right?
I
She goes, you
love
should
it.
just listen next time. But yeah, I dropped that into their email. They joined a few of them. They really liked it, right? It was informative for them. But that's like one of the biggest things about having a quality partner is you can just share their information right there to the client. Motivated clients will join those meetings and such like that. So it makes it very hands off as an advisor for managing your practice to be able to say, look, join this webinar, listen to Cole. He's going to say some terminology you don't know. So just Google it, right? And listen. So you don't have to be an expert. I tell other advisors and even leadership at Farther, quite honestly, I go, look, I'm a wealth manager. I'm an expert in nothing but a resource for all. And that's the approach that I've taken. Expert in nothing, resource for all.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's going back to the goal of just adding extreme value and being willing to say, I don't know, but I know the people who do. And that's why we're thrilled to partner with you. And I know you've had some really cool experiences recently in the estate planning side of things. And just as you're doing new client discovery with discovering some money that you didn't know existed, they didn't know existed or forgot about. We're thrilled to work with you on the healthcare planning front and glad to help you acquire new clients and feed this out to prospects. Maybe talk about quickly before we jump into the estate planning side, maybe talk about how you position healthcare planning within your overall financial planning process. Where does it fit in? Like, get very tactical and just walk us through, hey, we bring this up with every client, or I bring it up with clients that are in these scenarios.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Farther's got a pretty good planning platform here. So yeah, I just link the accounts, get the balance sheet in order, do your standard financial plan. The PDF that's created, quite honestly, is extremely useless, right? Financial planning is like a living, breathing thing. So think about it this way. How specific do you get about healthcare planning support in your marketing activities, or are you now 100% referral? Thank you, Lisa. We'll definitely directly answer that right now. So take your baseline financial plan and you're really just memorializing the client goals, right? Quite literally all on the same digital page. But then when I get to the healthcare planning section, this is where I say, hey, look, like this data that's being drawn in, like this is, you go on genworth.com's calculator or whatever, and you put in the cost of long-term care, or you look up the IRMA bracket and you put in the healthcare premiums. And like, this is baseline stuff, right?
Yep.
Just like with anything you do, next step is to move over to the specialist and take a look. Now, Move Health's platform, just to answer Lisa's question again very directly, Move Health's platform does have a nice estimator to give you an idea of what the cost would be pre and post 65, right? Depending upon household count, what state they're in, all those fun things, their income. But that's just an estimator. So when you have a team in place, they make it really easy. You type in client information, takes like 2.5 minutes, right? And then you click send referral email. A referral email is then sent to the client, or you can elect not to send it if you don't want to, like whatever works for the client. And then you have access to a calendar link. You go on that calendar link, you put joint time on, you type in your email, your phone number, client email, client phone number, and boom, you are scheduled to meet with someone who is actually going to take a look at their overall financial picture and give them guidance and advice. And I would say that for me, the biggest part of the membership has been Move Health's already been paid, right? So you now have transformed what is the traditional broker or transactional relationship into this is the healthcare advisor, right? This is the health insurance advisor. They are going to look through the overall picture and provide some feedback. And they're now sitting there on the same side of the table as the client saying, hey, we're going to give you really thoughtful advice. If you want to go implement it elsewhere, I mean, that's your choice. 99% of people, unless you live in Rhode Island, because Rhode Island's a pain, are going to say, hey, do the application for me. Let's move this forward, right?
Yeah.
The value of working with a partner like Move Health, or I would say Move Health specifically, is you've got a human, you've got an advisor, you've got a person. They're giving you information and guidance. It is actionable, it is organized, and it is good, right? I can't think of a better way to handle the healthcare conversation. And honestly, most of the time, I'm just sitting there in the background, hopping on the call, taking notes so I learn more for myself. And what that has done, to go even deeper into Lisa's question, is I can now speak more intelligently about the health insurance piece, but I never have to give the exact answer, right? Because the answers change. And I've got an advisor there, an extension of my team to help monitor that situation and scenario, along with a few clients that I've had work with. Like one of them is actually a hilarious story. I'm sorry for the side aside, but her husband went to down to Walgreens, right? Gives the health insurance card, and the price was just wrong, right? Or he thought he gave the health insurance card. So he comes back, he's like, honey, it costs this. And she's like, what do you mean it costs this? They didn't know what to do. They sent Herbert an email. I'm like, I don't know, let's call Jacqueline. Call Jacqueline hops on. She goes, this should have been covered. We found out he gave the wrong health insurance card.
Oops.
However, in a matter of 24 hours, the whole thing was solved. He probably slept on the couch for a week, right? But I mean, it's kind of his fault, right? But they had a partner not just for buying the product, they had someone who was there as a resource that they could call and not sit on 800 line with an insurance carrier for 19 hours, right? I just did it for 45 minutes for the second time earlier today. It was terrible. They had someone they could go to. So having that ongoing support as well is crucial because, yeah, that doesn't happen to every single client, but we all know, especially as advisors, you're sitting there on a Friday afternoon, 2 p.m., you're like, gonna kick back, finish up the day, go on a jog. Phone call comes in, you're like, oh man, hey, how's it going? What happened now? If it's around health insurance, you have a partner who can step in and fix it rather than you trying to figure out how to fix it yourself or getting tied up for another 2 hours or something like that. And like it's those aspects of the partnership that are extremely important that actually kind of have nothing to do with implementing the coverage. It's really servicing and it's really advice and guidance. And that's the experience that I've had. That's what has been the experience for the clients. And I think that's what's generated the additional referrals is the once again the implementation, the follow through, and the follow up.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. I think, Lisa, to go just a step further, I think that there's certainly a marketing angle because there's not folks that are doing this. And there are firms that we work with that use this as their primary marketing angle. Hey, we're going to help you figure out the health insurance thing before you turn 65 so you can retire earlier than you thought. And yeah, Herbert, happy to support. Sometimes it's just telling people, hey, you're using the wrong card. But it certainly doesn't just stop there. So I love it. I think going into that, I think one of the more cool stories out of all of this was how you uncovered, I know 12 million bucks seems like you're like, whoa, that's wild, but this actually happened. So maybe like transition to that and Marlo, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, I think that Paul really loved how you spoke like at the soft skills at first and then went into the tactical parts of estate planning and or your tactical parts of your business. So I think we'll follow that pattern too.
Of
So
course.
yeah, I would love to just hear more about like the people side, Herbert, and because a lot of people don't like to talk about death and like this part of financial planning is notorious for procrastination. Not that any other part is necessarily not victim to it. But I feel like I would just love to hear a little bit more about how you uncovered this and just in general how you even broached the topic and like at what stage of the planning you really start to dig into it.
Sure. So thankfully here at Farther, we do a boatload of estate planning, right? So I've got the internal support around the diagramming, the planning, the
Right.
conversations, but it's the execution that is key. And finding an estate planning attorney in a certain area can be an absolute nightmare, especially because half of the attorneys you talk to say, "Oh yeah, I do estate planning." They mostly do real estate and they just happen to throw in an appetizer of a revocable trust. Maybe it doesn't
Yeah.
even work, right? So when you have a partner for the execution of it, you've got a trusted person that you can go to, right? And then even further, if we're talking about 12 million estate planning opportunities, so here's what happened. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, we're on vacation. You take your phone, you put your vacation responder on, and then you basically just throw it in a river and try not to look at it. So I come back and people are doing their New Year's resolutions. I spent a lot of time over the past 12 months going through clients' estate plans with them, getting them updated, getting them implemented, getting homes that hadn't been moved into the revocable trust moved into it, doing all those things. And quite honestly, I came back that first week of January. And I had 5 emails from referrals about estate planning, right? It was, oh yeah, caught up with Betty, and she mentioned the estate plan you're doing. I need to do that for my parents. I need to do that for myself or something of that nature. Like, can you help with getting this executed and with the strategy?
Yeah.
And all it was back to that Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa conversation, right? Or whatever you celebrate, maybe nothing. That's fine. I
Yeah.
respect it. But it came back to that conversation of advisor did this. Like that was it, right?
Hmm.
Not advisor talked about or suggested or circled the wagon train about it.
Yeah.
Advisor did this. Can they do that for me? Yes. Email, right? Just email them. And it ended up being like $12 million of various opportunities. Because once you go through the estate planning conversation, you obviously understand a person's overall financial picture. But I believe what clicks in clients' minds are, hey, I've been with Fidelity for 15 years. They've never talked to me about this or helped me do it. What else am I missing? Right? Like, what else? And when you connect with someone on that level, their natural inclination is like, hey, can we work with you deeper? Like, thank you for doing this. Right. And that's really what happened. So, going back to the opening where they said, hey, Herbert, hopefully another 2.5x this year, I am already at 2x. Like,
We
by
love that.
June, I will probably be at 2x. And it was from directly delivering implementation value. Right.
Oh,
And yeah, I mean, it's just, I would say if you're talking about the emotional aspect, seeing someone realize that because if you're in your 50s and your 70s, right? If you're in your 50s, you're about to deal with probate the first time. If you're in your 70s, you've already dealt with it. And now you don't want to pass that on to your heirs, right? So seeing the stress and the weight lifted off of someone's shoulders, knowing that in the event they pass away, because you will pass away,
yeah.
that their surviving spouse, their kids, the charities they care about are not going to have to suffer through, in many states or
Totally.
cities or municipalities, the terrible experience of probate, right? I
Yeah.
hope they tokenize that stuff one day. We'll talk about Ethereum later, but they not have to suffer that. Like, that's a huge lift off of people's shoulders. And
Yep.
then even more, when you go through that estate planning conversation, you should see the light bulb click where they're like, oh, I have to wait to die to give it away.
Yeah.
There's actually a benefit to me doing this now and to my heirs. Benefit is they get to see it. They get to see their
Yep.
heirs use it
Totally.
for whatever it's supposed to be used for. I don't tell people what to, but usually it's education or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And then also the benefit of knowing that there's going to be something left behind and it's organized and they have a partner
Yeah.
who actually monitors this. Like, I'm sorry, like there's a lot of maybe investment managers on here who value the portfolio.
Hmm.
It is so much more valuable than the portfolio, right?
Totally.
And it's estate planning, it's tax planning, it's healthcare planning. Because in the end, when you combine those three, you just saw the biggest expenses that people have. The biggest
Yep.
expenses are healthcare and taxes, right? Like
Yep.
that's it. That's how
Yep.
how the system is designed. And when you help people with that, everything else naturally follows.
Totally. And I think one of the things that we try to do at Encore, one of the things that I think makes us stand out is that we really are advisor driven. And so we're not just like, oh, go client, take this link and fill it out, really work with advisor that you've already built this trusting relationship with to help you walk through those stages and to provide the education. I would love to hear what that kind of process looks like. Are you doing it, getting in the questionnaire, or like how do you actually really start? There's this, let's talk about it. But when it comes to execution, you said you have a lot of support from Farther, but would love to hear a little bit more about where do you handhold and where do you do some pre-work, fill out the kids already because you know their names. And so they come in with like, oh, I feel like he's already done the pre-work. I just love to hear about that. And maybe it
Yeah, I would
depends.
say there's 3 things. The first one is going back to the financial plan, the balance sheet. But the question that I start with for estate planning is it's pretty simple. It's what would you like your money to do in an ideal world, but within reason, right? So you
Mhm.
got $3 million. If you tell me I want to buy a private jet, I'm like, okay, well, within reason. They're not no private jet or yacht. Let's set that aside. What is it really?
Some people
But
might
it's
think
like,
it's
what?
reasonable. That's a tax bracket I'm not in yet.
Yeah, there are people, but I think that the real key to it is like understanding what this person's goal is, right? Like, what do you want to have happen? But opening it up, and it's like a really good question that my branch manager used to always have as a Schwab, right? It was, what are the financial institutions you're working with doing for you that you like, and more importantly, that you don't like? Like,
Oh,
what is upsetting you, right? And it leads into I mean, goals-based conversation. That's what you want to
yeah,
call it. Just like what you want your money to do, right? You can only do
yeah,
two things with it. You can spend it, or you can give it away.
yeah,
Saving is just a mechanism to get to one of those two, right?
yeah. I
So
like
once
that.
you understand that client profile and what they really want to do with it, then that leads into the estate planning suggestion and ideas, right? And when it comes to pre-filling paperwork, you pre-fill as much as possible. Why? No one likes double data entry. And quite honestly, as advisors, if our job is double data entry, we are like the most overpaid double data entry people in the world, right? We really are, right? I still remember those bag skates playing high school and college hockey, right? Where, they set a trash can in the middle of the ice and you wait until someone puked, right? This is so much easier than that. It is
Yeah,
moving your fingers, right?
yeah,
So you pre-fill all that stuff, you get it in there very nice into a diagram. And when they can actually see that picture and when you can move it around, and this is where I work with our trusted estates team on it because they're really good at it. I'm not, right? But
yeah,
when they can see that, it now motivates them because you've given them a goal. The goal is to get this to our grandkids, Jake and Jacqueline, in the most efficient way. All right, let's move towards that goal. And people really appreciate the progress towards that goal. So now they're not thinking about what happens when they die, because that's terrible.
yeah,
They're thinking about, hey, we got to make sure it gets to the grandkids so efficiently. So
yeah,
we need to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, right?
yeah,
And then you calendar that out for them. You hold them accountable. And you also hold yourself accountable so you don't forget.
yeah.
And then you walk them through that process. And some people will need more hand holding than others. That's fine. You know the client because you've gotten to know them on a personal
Hmm.
level. You make sure that it gets done. You provide them with all the support and resources they need to get it done in a manner that is most comfortable for them. That's that white glove service. And then
Yeah.
once you've done that, then you just update it as needed, you monitor it, and you utilize your resources available to do that. And I saw a comment pop in where, does this integrate into Right Capital or this or that? I'm thankful, and I'm sure if Brad and Taylor are watching, they're going to love this. I got the Farther portal, which makes things easy. But as far as integrations go, I do know Zox AI is really good about helping you integrate things and get set up. But also, there's a company called Leah out of New York City, who's one of our partners. They're really good too, right? So there are partnerships out there that can take that heavy lifting off of your shoulders and get things organized for you. And I think they're going to give my calendar link at the end of this or something like that. The Victor's on it, right? But if you need introductions to those, I'm happy to make those intros because in the end, there's a large pool of people that we can help. There's not enough of us advisors. So whatever I've done, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to share it and make those introductions to help the partners who have supported me through this venture
Yeah.
as it grows also build their own businesses, right? So just
Oh,
reach out.
thanks. And so going a little bit on to Encore
Mm-hmm.
specifically, how did you find us? And when you were taking a look at different offerings in this estate planning space, where were some of the things that you were looking for? And then how
Mm-hmm.
does Encore meet some of those needs? And what were some maybe deal breakers that made you decide not to go with others?
Yeah, what was really important to me was execution, right? So the ability to have a firm that was going to move the home into a revocable trust, like do titling and deeding, was really
Totally.
important to me because what's the use of an estate plan if you don't fund it? It's like quite literally a
100%.
worthless piece of paper.
We call it a
Um,
treasure chest
and
with no treasures in it.
yeah, so there was an incredible man named Luke Cook. Luke Cook is awesome.
Oh,
And
we love.
one of the things that Luke has done has been extremely responsive, available via email, phone, whatever it is. And actually, one of the opportunities that I uncovered earlier this year, I sent it over to him like, hey, can we help this family? And he's like, yeah, for sure. He goes, by the way, excuse me, he goes, in that municipality, we can also do a TOD deed if it's easier. Like he brought that up, and I'm like, that might actually be easier for them. So it's been having a person that you can speak to and run things by who actually responds, and their response isn't ask the AI chatbot. Their response is not click here to do this. If I call Luke and say, Luke, I got a problem, if Luke can't answer it, Luke is going to go into the network and get an answer, right?
Yep.
And that's awesome. So it's the service level that attracted me to EncorEstate because I can ask questions and I get answers versus being on an 800 line or talking
Yeah.
to a chat bot where you get an answer back and you're like, that didn't answer my question. In fact, I think that might actually be wrong. And that does happen with
Totally.
other providers. I
Yeah.
guess I would say EncorEstate didn't go cheap, right? Because cheap people pay twice. EncorEstate did not go cheap. They said, hey, we're going to get talented people in here. We're going to get people who actually care. And then we're going to make sure that these people can connect with our clients, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to respond to them. And there's a
Yeah.
cost to that, right? There really
Yeah.
is. But EncorEstate said, you know what? We're going to make the moral decision to do things the right way.
Yeah.
And so far, I've had zero issues.
Yeah, we're really proud of the fact that everything is human reviewed and that we have an incredible team of estate attorneys and a network of estate attorneys in case someone does really want to get some attorney review on something. But also we have a team of estate paralegals and everything like that. So it's something that we really pride ourselves on. And so it's so good to hear that you actually, but not that you've experienced that because we do care and everyone in that works for Encore really cares deeply about making sure that clients complete plans and fund them so that they can protect what matters most.
Of course. I mean, being
Um,
with you, Marla, I think what it is, you have a personal conviction around it,
yeah,
right? And that personal conviction shows. It really
yeah,
does. And that, so thank you for the services. I mean, I
yeah.
appreciate them for sure, but I know clients do too.
I mean, I have to say my story is actually that my parents did have an estate plan, and there's so many stories of like how bad it went. And for me, when my parents passed, it was like I actually was so thankful to be able to actually grieve and not have to go through probate. So that's where I come from and preaching it as being like, oh, it's just the best gift you can give your kids.
I mean, just,
Um,
this is a quick aside, but like I had a lady that I worked with. Her husband passed away unexpectedly. It took 2.5 years for her to get the IRA moved over, right? And they were a single income family. So for 2.5 years, the income was limited, right? So, I mean, just so people know, like these stories are real. Like they're not stories, they're actual real life scenarios. And we made it work working together. But like, I just thought about what if I'd met her like 2 months earlier? And
yeah,
what if we just designate some beneficiaries at least or something like that?
totally.
When you lose your spouse and you got to go 2.5 years with very little income simply because no one said, hey, by the way, write a name on this, right?
Yeah,
Like that's the real life scenario that people are facing and playing with. So, going back to how you built this referral engine, right? Dude, like just help people. Like when
yeah,
you help people like that, when you share those scenarios that people have gone through, like that is truly value, right?
yeah,
And I just can't I just can't preach enough how important real and quality estate planning is because it's the
yeah.
unexpected, but it happens.
It does. I mean, I think like we say that you hope that you don't have to use 80% of your estate plan, but the 20% you do need to use is really important. So yeah, I think it totally is. I think there are a few questions. There was, do you lead with estate planning or with something else?
I guess I would say I lead with the financial plan. Just I know in the back of my mind that most people have not created an estate plan. Most people have absolutely no idea what health insurance is supposed to look like or what plans to pick. So it just becomes like it's not necessarily a lead or what I lead with, but it's just involved in every conversation. I would How I suggest to other advisors if they want to replicate a system like this is you write down your use cases, like the things that you've done to help people, you share them, right, with the world across the board. And when you share them, like that's when you'll grasp the people who resonate with it and who are motivated to work with you. So in the end, I'm leading with financial planning. But how I look at it is, oh, there's the right thing to do and there's the moral thing to do. I try to
Yeah,
marry them both. I try to make a moral decision that I'm going to help people with a number of important topics. And then that is what I lead with. I lead with what is most important to them. But to use the annoying doctor analogy that people do, I would say that I diagnose the problem. If you come in with a broken arm, but there's something wrong with your heart, we're going to fix your heart first, but we're also going to fix the broken arm at the same time because it means a lot
yeah.
to you. And that's really how I approach it.
Yeah, I love that. I think we have a few questions. So, and I know we also want to
Okay.
cover how you stay on top of everything as a solo firm, but I'm going to quickly go through a few things. One person asked, what's the name of the AI you mentioned in New York? I don't know if I,
Leah, LEA, I believe their website might actually be GetLea,
okay,
GETLEA.io.
okay. And then someone said, you mentioned health, tax, and estate planning. What software platform do you use for your tax planning?
So for tax planning, obviously, Farther portal, right? We use everything Farther, but then also Tax Status is a wonderful partner for tax kind of planning. And then for tax research, it's Bizora.ai, Bizora. Adam Tahir's the founder. Awesome guy. Over at Tax Status, just give Eric Thorson a shout. He's always on LinkedIn.
Great. And then let me see, I think if I missed something, there's a long thread of things. So let's see. And then there was one about when does Encore bring an attorney into the process? So for us, like, yeah, do you want to speak to that? Do you end up having some sort of engagement with attorneys on your end, or do you want me to answer
There's
if
always
it works on
Drew.
our
Drew
end?
likes talking about estate planning. And I mean, if you watch his LinkedIn, he takes every single thing that happens in his life and turns it into estate planning. It's pretty funny. But yeah, there's the option on Encore to engage the attorney network or the back office for sure. Most of the clientele that I work with when I'm using like an EncorEstate, it's not as complex where we're not talking
Yeah.
about doing NIM, reverse NIM cruts and stuff, right? So
Yeah, we're
how I
only doing
look at,
revocable trusts right now anyway.
yeah,
So we target, or we work mainly with like mass affluent, not the, yeah, we have some disqualifying questions where if you have over the 15 million single, 30 million of married wealth, that you're probably want an attorney. So we're not trying to pretend that we're for everyone, but for that kind of middle, not quite that 30,
for
40
the
million
millionaire next door.
dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, but
That then
when
you
I
probably
look
have a
at
family
it,
office.
that's where having the support system of a Marla, a Luke Cook is really helpful because what you can do is go to them first and say, hey, here's the scenario. Should I bring the Drew in? Like, what do you think makes sense based off, the client outlook and what's going on? And then, I let Luke literally tell me, like, hey, you think I should bring Drew on? Right? Like, does
Yeah.
this make sense? And just partner with them in the background to then present it to the client. So I try to organize everything up front and give the team the entire outlook and then help and then they tell me like, hey, this is going to make sense to bring this support in or whatnot. So it's just really good partnership coordination, right? That's part of how
Yeah.
you stay on top of it too as a solo advisor.
Great. Yeah, I think we only have about 8 minutes left, so I do want to make sure that you have a chance to talk about how you stay on top of it as a solo advisor. So let's spend 5 minutes on that, and then we'll spend the last like 3, 4 minutes on some more questions and some just wrapping up.
Yeah, I'm going to do this in 60 seconds so we have time for Q&A
Great.
because people need to get their questions answered. How I stay on top of it? CRM system, right? Everything
Yeah.
goes into your CRM. And what I'll do is I set a task that's a reminder. I put it on my calendar. If it's on my calendar, I do it. And also schedule sending emails, right? Like if you say, hey, I'm going to reach back out to you in 2 weeks to talk about this, right then and there, just type out the email, click schedule send, 2 weeks
Yeah.
to schedule send it, right? So how I stay on top of it is I always book the follow up or the follow up task, and I put it in right when the conversation's done. And then I've also linked my email to the CRM system. So when I send a nice little meeting summary, all I gotta just type it up real quick, like what we talked about and everything. It then goes into the system and logs it as a note, right? So that's really how I stay on top of these things. It's that level of efficiency.
Great. I love that. Just to kind of finish up the Encore thing, we did want to offer some little goodies, and then we will go into a little more Q&A. So I just wanted to quickly go through if I can get my deck. So like you said, state planning can definitely, there's choices. Sometimes it makes sense to delegate out to an attorney, but otherwise it can be really seen as a revenue generator. And then another reminder of, I think you had to too, is like not necessarily is estate planning only coming up like when you need a brand new will. There's like amendments, there's restatements, there's maybe just a powers plan if someone's parents are getting old. So it's a reminder. That's a good touch point. You probably revisit it every 3 years, 2, 3 years. Is that kind of your cadence with your clients,
I mean,
or
I would
5 years?
say I would say annually, I always include as part of the plan because it's just like a
Okay.
simple little like look at it. But any life circumstance change, check if it should be done,
Totally.
right? Birth of a new
Yep.
child, all those ones, the qualifying life events, right? But I look at it every year just to make sure because you always end up finding like, oh, we never added a beneficiary of that bank account. I just did that on
Yeah.
Monday. It's like, by the way, Jim,
Totally.
you need to put contingent beneficiaries on your IRA. He's like, oh, typed it in, it was done.
Yeah, great. And then again, just a little bit on Encore is that we are advisor driven and we do have the human review side, and that we do offer that turnkey deed filing. And as needed, we can offer some extra additional attorney review. And that we're a pay as you go. So that's something that often people find to be really appealing, because that we don't have to be locked into this subscription for years long. So these are our prices. And then for those of you who attend and who are interested in learning more, here are some links that we'll send out as well about how to get a demo. But if the first 10 advisors who create an Encore account, will go ahead and give you 50% off of your first plan. So if you want to take a screenshot of that or whatever, but hopefully you can sign up. And so with that, I want to go back to questions. Or Cole, do you want to, I feel like I want to make sure that you have some opportunities too, in case any questions came into your Q&A.
Yeah, all good. I had a couple that came through and got them answered in real time. So no issues or worries on my end. And yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for letting me be a part of it. Herbert, thanks for talking about how you implement these things. It's one thing for us, myself or Marla, to talk about how great Move Health is or how great EncorEstate is. It's another to actually see it in practice. Herbert's not a paid spokesperson. I don't know if we gave that disclaimer at the beginning. Like, he's a real user that pays for both of these services. And so, Herbert, thank
I'm
you
a
for taking some
paying
time.
spokesperson.
That's exactly right. And so I love it. So thank you for that. And I'm just glad to be a part of it, Marla. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much. And so let me just double check. But yeah, I think looks like we sent out some links to connect with Cole, and then also to connect with Herbert. Gave him a calendar link there. And then yeah, I think if there's any last questions that want to come in here, or Herbert, if you want to just say some final words.
I mean, my final words are really like, look, if you have any follow-up questions, like seriously, feel free to reach out and just put time in my calendar. I'm happy to chat. It's something that I enjoy doing just because I know how stressful it was when I left the big name. And I mean, I guess Farley's becoming a big name too. So went to another one, but I left Schwab, right? Like I didn't really know what it was going to look like. Like I had an idea, thankfully my wife is extremely supportive and was just like, Herbert, you're an idiot. Of course you're going to get referrals. Like it's perfectly fine. Why don't you just sign the documents instead of interviewing any further? So I did, right? And but like seriously, you can reach out to me because I had a lot of support through this, both from my family, from other advisors that I know. Actually, a guy who lives down the street from my parents who was about to hire me looked at what I wanted to do in the Farther opportunity, and quite literally, Craig Navor from Paragon Capital told me, Herbert, you're an idiot if you don't do this. The only thing I ask for is if you see people who would be a good fit for me, like, can I get on the platform? Right? Like that was it. Like, so I had a lot of support from other advisors as well. And I think it's important to pay that forward. Like, Mike Whitmore over here at Farther, like pretty much the day I joined, before we even moved to Denver, chatted me up, walked me through like how to navigate it, right? So seriously, feel free to put time on my calendar because the amount of support that I have created this life-changing opportunity for myself and our family. So it would only be responsible of me to help others create that same opportunity as well.
Totally. I mean, I love that. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a people business, right? And
Yeah.
I always say, like, when people ask me about career advice, I'm like, be kind and work hard, and you'll be surprised how far it gets you. So I
And
love
it's a
that.
lot more fun.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
like I could climb to the top of the mountain alone, but if I get there, I'm looking around and got
Totally.
no one. It's like, oh, this kind of sucks, right? But
Totally.
when you're working, when you get up there with people that carry you or you carry them, and you
Yep.
all get to celebrate at the top, like that's a hell of a party.
Yep, I
That's
totally
great.
agree. So thank you again so much for your time. Thanks, Cole, for being such a fabulous co-host. And I look forward to staying in touch and hearing. I mean, at the end of the year, I guess, Herbert, we need to hear, was it like 5X, 10X this year? I
That's
know you
right. We'll
said
do an
you're
update.
close to, we'll need to send an update to everybody.
Hi, I'm Herbert Kyles. I passed out from exhaustion because I did 6X.
I love it. Let's go get it. Thanks,
I'll
y'all.
come to your funeral.
Oh God, my estate plan will be in order.
I
There
was
it
gonna
is.
say, I don't know doubts is in order. Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
thank you so much. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.
you did.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.